How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to an episode of the Grind Never Stops podcast. I'm your co-host Steve again. Today I'm going to talk to you about basketball, the NBA previews. It's about the Atlantic Division. A short thing about basketball myself, I look for centers first, meaning I look for size like 6'11" or higher, and you had to block shots and rebound. Other than that, I look for three-point shooting and play defense. So today I'm going to talk to you about the Atlantic Division. I'm going to talk to you first about the New York Knicks, one of my favorite teams. Also, my favorite team is the Houston Rockets, which I'll get to that later. So the Knicks are 41-31 last season, and they lost in the first round against the Atlanta Hawks. The Knicks are really dominant on defense in points allowed last season, top 5, because they have everything. And yes, they're smart. Offense is a different issue because they can't score. Julius Randall, the big man, emerged as a go-to guy because he works his butt off in shooting and scoring on the offensive end. And yes, he's good at the free throw line. You can't tag off against him anymore. Then you have RJ Barrett. He's a great defender, and yes, he's good at the free throw line. And most importantly, his three-point shooting improved. So the Knicks brought in Thibodeau, a defensive-minded guy. He's brought in to change the culture by helping them win basketball games. But on offense, he's a half court guy. He doesn't run that much. The Knicks are now defensive minded. Point guard, the problem last year. Elvin Payton, he stinks because he's a waste. Can't shoot anywhere. Regardless of the situation, doesn't matter. He has some value on defense, but he does have size at point guard. He can actually switch. If you don't know what switching means, it means how well you ask your teammate to guard a specific ball handler. So the Knicks entered the playoffs last season. Yes, with Julius Randall. They struggled because Julius Randall. He's one of them because he wasn't being himself. You just have to be confident with himself and make the right read and take better shots. Then you have center Mitchell Robinson. He's in and out of the lineup last season. Dude, stay healthy. Because without him, they're undersized. They got pounding the boards and 7 foot tall. If you don't know what boards means, it's another word for rebounding. Rebounding means how we get the ball after a missed shot. So the Knicks needed size on the front line. So they need a point guard for the Knicks. They got one in Kemba Walker because he's more like a go-to guy. And don't leave him open in the mid-range. He's ATM machine. Especially with a big man guarding him. Good luck with that. Three-point shooting. They achieved that. Check. Don't forget Anthony, everybody, because he's a sharpshooter now. And yes, he's a sleeper defender. Don't think he can't play defense because he can now. This is very simple. Mitchell Robinson, stay healthy. Because if you can't stay healthy, they have a chance of getting out in the first round. Simple. They need you. And you're 7 foot tall. You can block shots and rebound. Then we have the Toronto Raptors. They are 27 and 35. The point guard from Villanova, Kyle Lowry. He's like a go-to guy last season. Now gone to the Miami Heat. But no worries, Raptors fans. You got Fred VanVleet. He's underrated on both ends, but a great shooter. Another guy you cannot leave wide open. Pascal Siakam. He's like a go-to guy this year. He's versatile. You can put him even at center. Then you have head coach Nick Nurse. He's underrated. He's very smart, and he doesn't even have great personnel last year. And yes, he proved it by winning NBA title against the Golden State Warriors, which ended the Warriors dynasty. Or is it? Then you have Goran Dragic. He plays an important role. How will the Raptors use him as a six man, off the bench type of guy? Let's see what they do with him. He's actually a good shooter, but most importantly, who will help out Pascal Siakam? Who will be a sidekick? Something to look forward this year. The next team is the Philadelphia 76ers. So they lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the second round, and they are 49 and 23. The first person we'll talk about is Ben Simmons. As Shark Barkley would say about his shooting, terrible. Yes, he's very terrible, regardless of the situation. Ben Simmons, if you improve your stock from multiple NBA teams, work on your shooting. You can't ignore it. No wonder why Doc Rivers doesn't like him using the playoffs last season. But he has a huge plus because he can do everything on defense. And yes, he can switch. His physique is like LeBron James. And also, he's great at doing dime, meaning how well you pass the ball, like assists. It's very simple. Just foul him 100 times. He makes his free throws like 10% of the time. And yes, just stack up the paint, just sag off. And Ben Simmons, he doesn't want to be with the team anyway because Doc Rivers hates him. I understand why though. However, there's a few teams that want him because that one reason, defense. This roster is made to go for a title. Point guard is a question this year. I'm just not so about the perimeter shooting. But the biggest question is Doc Rivers. Ever since he won his title with the Celtics, he chokes in the playoffs every time he's there. And also, the three-point shooting is also a concern. Let's get to the next team, the Boston Celtics. So they are 36 and 36, and he lost to the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. The end of an era for Brad Stevens because they don't have an impact center. They need a center with size because they're undersized last year, which led to Brad Stevens' failure. But they do have Enes Kanter, but how do they use him to start? Because I'm not so with his defense, but he can post up and he's a decent 3-point shooter. The bench stuff is a concern, but they're starting five. They're sleeper team at best. You think they're not that good, but they can scare you, especially Jason Tatum, because he's versatile and he shoots like Kobe Bryant, never leaving wide open. Jason Tatum is more like he can play all five positions. Yes, he can play center for you. If you put on a center, he's good for small ball. The next team I'm going to talk about is the Brooklyn Nets. So they are 48 and 24. They lost to the Bucks in the second round. The Brooklyn Nets almost make the Bucks pay when Kevin Durant, I remember that one time at Barclays Center, he made the shot that led to extra time in the game. And yes, they almost made them pay, the Brooklyn Nets, because after the second round for the Bucks Nets, which the Bucks ended up winning the series, even worse for the Brooklyn Nets fans, they won the title, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Brooklyn Nets basically have offense everywhere, especially James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Cam Durant. What else is new? They spend a ton of money. Yes, even they spent tons of money on Blake Griffin and Marcus Aldridge. Another Hollywood team, but their defense is ugly. Play some D. My prediction for the Atlantic Division, I'm gonna go with the New York Knicks because the difference is their defense. And yes, they can score this year, and they improved their 3-point shooting. Dude, that means you, Mitchell Robinson. Stay healthy. No more injury bugs. And that ends the Atlantic preview. The next division preview. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'm your co-host Steve again, signing out from the Grind Never Stops podcast. Sign on, folks.